Evening, everyone. It is your girl, Marcy Thomas, back with you for another episode of Live Well, Sister. So I am really excited about this conversation we are about to dive into, so much so that the special guest and I were in the background keying, and I looked up and like, oh, it's time for us to go live. So get ready for what's going to be a really, really good and powerful conversation, and I can't wait to get into it. So if this is your first time here, welcome. Welcome to Live Well, Sister. If you've been here before, then get ready for what's going to be a really great conversation. Now, I am coming to you from the outskirts of Atlanta, GA, originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and a whole bunch of other places in between. So if you're here for the first time, especially if you don't mind letting us know where you're joining us from, please do that so that we can see who all is in this space. So I am so excited about this conversation with this young lady that I just met a couple of minutes ago, but I feel like we're going to have a long friendship from this point forward. And that is the one and only Sharifa Stevens. Now, she is a writer, poet, speaker, and singer. She is the daughter of Jamaican immigrants born and raised in New York and currently resides with her family in Dallas, Texas. She graduated from Columbia University in New York with a bachelor's degree in African American Studies before earning a master's in theology from Dallas Theological Seminary. She aspires to use her writing as a vehicle that moves readers to intersect with the sacred and the honest, which is why I call her a truth teller. She co-authored Only Light Can Do That and contributed to the books Vindicating the Vixens, Riley, and Lecrae's upcoming Set Me Free. She is married to a Renaissance man and is a mother to two lively boys. So without any further delay, let's welcome Sharifa Stevens to Live Well, Sister, to chat about when we talk to God.
Hi.
Hi. Yes,
Hi again.
Yes. Yeah, my new sister. I tried to dress colorfully to match the book. So
I love what you did.
Yes. So I, as I told you before, and I told my mama, I love this book. So I really can't wait to get into when we talk to God, the artistry of your words, the artistry of the cover, and all the things that are in between, and just the heart that led you to want to write this book. So first and foremost, congratulations to you, Sharifa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And your feedback means so much. I wrote this book for Black women. And so now that it's out, it's just hearing how it is hitting my sisters. It just means a lot to me. My sisters and their mamas.
Right.
It means a lot to me.
Right. Yes.
So thank you.
Yes. So it's such a powerful book. When I first saw it, I was attracted to it, of course, because it's beautiful, and we'll get into the art and some of the things that are on the inside in terms of the graphics and stuff like that.
Look at all your post-its.
I told you I was in it. And there's some at the top too.
Oh my goodness.
I told you I was deep in it, but it's because it's beautiful and the artwork is beautiful. The words are beautiful and all of that. So I had to really dive into it. So first and foremost, what was it that kind of inspired you to really dive into faith? What were some of your first faith memories or things that led you to think that this would be your journey?
Okay, well, faith is my inheritance, and it has been since before I was born. I was destined to be a child of God.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother, my mother. Okay, so I call my mother the zealot because she has been so consistent
Mm-hmm.
and vivacious about her faith in God, about following in the way of God, about what that looks like. Now, and my mom and I might differ on some of those indicators of holiness, but she has been consistent. And before her, there was the example of my grandmother who lived with us from the time I was 3 to 13. So,
Okay.
in pretty formative years. And she lived through a lot. She
Mm-hmm.
lived through sexual assault. She lived through being a very young mother. She lived through immigration
Mm-hmm.
and coming to a new country. She lived through infidelity. She lived through breast cancer. And as consistent as my mother was, my grandmother was also consistent in clinging to God throughout all of her trials. And she was an avid worshiper. I would hear her singing in the morning and in the evening. When she was frustrated, I would also hear her singing.
All right.
Yes. So she had these, self regulation
Mm-hmm.
techniques. I didn't know them as that then, but she would keep close to the source of her regulation
Right.
through hymns and songs. She was hard of hearing, so her songs it was a sweet lack of melody that was
Right.
in
Okay.
her
A
songs.
joyful noise,
It was a
literally.
joyful noise. It was. And I know it was a sweet savor to God. It was a sweet savor to me,
Mm-hmm.
even as like a 7, 8, 9 year old. And her dedication to prayer, um, her steadfastness, even when her knees hurt, she got on her knees to pray to her
Mm.
God. So that's the origin.
That's the
It's
origin.
always been like this, you know.
Right. And that makes sense because, there have been songs written about those praying grandmothers.
Oh
So,
yes,
so that is, a whole thing that we know that our grandmothers and our great grandmothers and our great great going back, that those women in our families have been women of faith who prayed for us and, endured a lot, as you just talked about with your
absolutely.
grandmother, and found a way to pray their way through. So it's and the fact that you had her and you talk about in the book actually in the same room with you. So you were
Yes,
definitely deeply tied to what was happening with her.
yes. And she was so generous.
Mm-hmm.
That's she was generous with her time.
Mm-hmm.
She could have been like, "Listen, I don't want you in this room until it's time for your bed." But she discipled me by example.
Yes, yes. But even with that, at a certain point, what's the word? Say we have to work out our own salvation.
That's right.
So even though you have this strong foundation as you continue to grow and really find your own faith, there are some things that maybe you decided didn't, excuse me, necessarily work. Your prayers are not your grandmother's prayers.
Yes.
Same faith, but different way of accessing it.
Yes. Yes. I think in the book the way I said it is that her prayers didn't fit in my mouth. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not because there was something faulty about her prayers. It's
Right,
because God does not expect somebody else's prayers to come out of your mouth.
right,
It's not a desire from God. There's nothing in scripture that says, yes, only pray this way.
right.
There's so much freedom that
Mm-hmm.
God grants us. And so there became this disconnect between my grandmother's faith and the faith that I was learning maybe in formal arenas,
Mm-hmm.
or my first Bible had a picture of white Jesus on the cover,
Mm,
holding a little pretty little lamb.
mm,
Jesus was pretty too, but it was like, those pictures are kind of propaganda.
right. I love that. Different armor
Oh,
for a different soldier. Yes,
yes,
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
That's it. That's
Also,
it.
hi, Tiffany.
Hey, Tiffany. But that's so true. Different
Yes.
armor for a different soldier.
Yes.
And you talk about the propaganda. I mean, there are a lot of things that we know now about the ways that we have been taught Christianity, what it looks like, what it's supposed to look like, what's
Mm-hmm.
considered right and pure and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Pure. There's a word.
Hmm.
I often felt on the other side of purity because purity was associated with whiteness.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's something that I would never be.
Right,
Purity was associated with the Jesus on the cover,
right.
not the Jesus who actually walked the earth.
Hmm. Hmm.
So purity had its own meaning and agenda that was set apart from the good news of the gospel of Jesus.
Hmm. Purity, goodness. You just said goodness because I know you talk about that as well. Like, what does it mean to be good?
Mm.
Be a child of God. What does that really look like?
Oh, is that the question?
Just a comment, but you can
Oh yes.
expound.
Yes. I mean, I feel like yeah, that's a vast question. I will say, um, I avoid defining that in a way because we all express the goodness of God in unique ways.
Mhm.
But there's a difference, I will say, between being good and being well behaved. And I
Mhm.
think that being well behaved was the objective of a lot of my early spiritual formation
Mhm.
rather than being good. There's a dedication to justice and righteousness, uh, loving other people, uh, dignity, uh, care that
Mhm.
is associated with goodness,
Right.
right? But being well behaved is being quiet, um, an emphasis. A strange lopsided emphasis on submission
Right.
or um, the way how good of a servant you can be. And being a good servant is something that any Christian should be. But for some
Absolutely.
reason, in my spiritual formation, not from my grandmother's faith, to be clear, but in other sources of spiritual formation, the servanthood aspect was distinctly female
Mhm.
rather than a universal trait of someone who is following the one who washed his disciples' feet, the one
Right.
who said, I didn't come uh, to be served, but to serve.
Absolutely. And I love that you're saying that because I mean, in the black church, and I'm sure it is in other churches as well, that the women are the ones that are oftentimes doing the bulk of the work. And there's the man who leads and tells them what to do, and you know what I mean. He's the leader.
Yes,
He's the one that everyone looks up to. But it's the women that are the feet and hands of God.
absolutely. Absolutely. The church doors would close without women.
Right.
And that's as it should be. We're part of the kingdom.
We are
So
definitely a part of the kingdom.
it would be great to be acknowledged as such.
Right, right, right. So of course we've talked about, you were born to do this,
Yes.
okay? And you were born into this life. But then at that there was an age and stage where you did start to study. And
Hmm.
as you studied, first of all, the whole thing of African American studies, I mean, that's a thing in and of itself because you learn a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff about Black people and how we, exercise faith in the different ways that we're doing it, just who we are in general. But then to add theology school on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
that really did that cause you to grapple with some things to come to different conclusions?
Yeah. So, Marcy, that's. Mm. Anywho, so high school, I went to a predominantly white high school and also college. But in
Mm-hmm.
that high school, I got a great education, except about my people.
Right.
So I was dedicated to pursuing specific education on the African diaspora when I got to Columbia. Now, Columbia has made some terrible choices in the headlines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I will just start by saying that I hope they make different decisions.
Right.
But when I attended Columbia University and got my African American Studies degree, I loved studying the diaspora and studying not only the struggle but the creativity, the
Mm-hmm.
innovation of Black people. Um, and as part of my education, I also studied uh, some of the Christian uh, great books. That was just part of it. So when I got to seminary,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, so there were departments at the seminary that were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
My language departments were wonderful. I decided that I was going to take Greek and
Okay.
Hebrew and Aramaic in order to get everything I could get
Right.
out of the text. And I'm grateful for the instruction that I've received from them on this. But there were other departments that were disappointments, um, where I was invisible. I was never invisible in a language class. I'm happy to say that. I was never invisible in a systematic theology class at the seminary, and I'm proud to say that. But in in Bible exposition, where you're supposed to read all 66 books of the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
invisible,
Hmm.
invisible, only present as a negative illustration, only present where it's, oh, it was an arena where all of the illustrations were sports illustrations. All of the jokes were about how wives treated students, because I guess all the students were married and married to women.
Mm.
Um, all of I remember sitting in a class, maybe it was a church history class, and that person said that Black people had no meaningful impact in the history of the church,
Wow.
but they could sing.
Wow.
And so me with my, I had this fro all my little life. Okay. So me coming in with a head wrap and afro to this campus was
Yeah.
different.
Mm-hmm.
It was different. So yeah, I had to contend with a lot of tension
Right.
between what I'd learned from my grandmother, what I'd
Mm-hmm.
learned from college, what I'd learned from life experience, and what I
Mm-hmm.
was learning in in seminary. And for a while, I really tried to go along to get along,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to. There's a passage in the book of John, in John 17, that talks about the unity of God's people and how our love for one another is
Mm-hmm.
what is proof of the truth of the gospel. And I
Right.
was on board for that. I was on board to do whatever I could to be a bridge,
Mm-hmm.
to foster that unity. But you can't make
You can't.
can't make people. You just can't make people love like that.
You can't. Even
And
though.
even though,
Well, I do have to say, because we talked about this a little bit before we came on, and I promise y'all we're gonna get into the book, but
oh right,
all of this is background, so you can understand who Sharifa is and who this
yes,
beautiful Black woman who wrote this book, that's prayers and poems specifically for us. But one of the things that we talked about beforehand is that I spent some time in seminary as well. And I will say, I'm blessed to say that my experience was a little bit different because I was going
oh
to
good,
seminary when I lived in Detroit. So it was a whole, so I was like, I was surrounded by Black, theologians, seminarians, and things like that. Even had some Black female instructors, Black women instructors while I was there.
I love that for you.
But it was just interesting to hear their stories, that even though they were working in the different churches, serving in the different churches, teaching classes and things like that, that there were things that they dealt with just as being Black women
That's
in
right.
ministry, even in Detroit at a certain level, but still facing challenges, whether it was from sometimes the women in the churches who didn't want to see them there. That's a whole nother conversation.
Listen, ooh,
Right. So it definitely is a thing, because there are people who feel like we don't deserve a space to be there, that should be reserved for someone else. So to go in and say, yes, I have a calling on my life and I'm going to follow this calling, and knowing that God has placed male and female
yeah,
made in his image to be able to do this work, that it is oftentimes a lot of things that you have to deal with in the midst of that. So
misogynoir. That's what it
misogynoir,
is.
that's what it is. It is what it is. Now, and you actually have a poem about that. So that'll be one of the ones we can talk about. But in deciding to write When We Talk to God, what was it that led you to want to write these prayers and poems at this time?
Oh, I can't. I mean, it's so needed. It, we, well, it's rooted in love. I love us,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting hit right and left.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they're trying to legislate us out of existence, and some people are trying to do it in the name of God.
Yes.
So I I want to be a voice that is counter to this pervasive, insidious, and violent lie that
Mm-hmm.
we shouldn't be here, or that we don't deserve, or that will we don't have equal status
Mm-hmm.
when we talk to God before the throne of God. I want to speak life to us in a
Yes.
time where people are speaking death. They're speaking death. They're accusers. They are. Uh, the misogynoir is so thick right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a better time for us to have a message of reinforcement that we are beloved, that we are deeply loved by God, and
Yes.
that we have access to God, and it's not
Yes.
access that's mitigated by anybody else.
That part.
So that's why.
And no matter who we are, no matter how we show up in the world, that we are all loved by God.
Yes.
So we have talked about misogynoir a couple times, but just real quick, and then we can go through some of the things. You broke the book
Hmm.
down into sections. So there's a section talking to God about our self-worth. There
Yep.
is talking about our bodies, talking about our protests. When we pray, talk to God about our loved ones, our heartbreak, our joy, and our faith.
Hmm.
So in each one of those sections, there are beautiful I don't know. Y'all might not really be able to see this. Number one, I like that right there because it's like a
Yeah.
woman. That is so beautiful. Before we get into some of the poems, just real quick about the illustrations because this book is beautifully illustrated as
It
well.
is.
So, in writing the work, did the person have a chance to like see the work before they created the illustrations, or kind of how did that go?
Yes, let me give a shout out to the illustrator because
Yes,
she did it.
she did
Okay,
it.
she did that. That's so beautiful.
And, you know, I'm a SG Rose, so I love that blue and that gold.
Oh, see, look at that. Oh my
I like
goodness.
blue and gold.
Who knew, right? So the illustrator, her name is Camila Rue. Her work, I can't even think of my favorite one in there. I know I love the cover so much.
Mm-hmm.
I love the mother and child one. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many that I love. The little double dutch one. So
Mm-hmm.
she was my first interpreter. She was the first person um, to see the work and interpret it,
Mm-hmm.
which basically was my first feedback. Like,
Yes.
is this resonating?
Yeah, there's a mother and child right there.
Yeah, look at that one. I just
Mm-hmm.
love it. So, she is the one who designed this breathtaking cover and all of the artwork. And from conception, this was going to be a gift book. So
Yeah.
it would be a book, yes, that had both artwork and prose and poetry in it so that the book would appeal to the visual sensory experience of the reader as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's very intentional and lavished with color.
It is. I love. Well, as you can see, looking on me and behind me, I love
Okay.
color. So yes,
Yes.
I really love that. So we have talked about misogynoir a couple of times. So if you don't mind, if you could read that for us.
Okay. Okay, you got to tell me what the page number
Okay, I'll
is.
find it for you. Let me tell you. It's page 17. 17.
Page 17. Mm. Misogynoir. Hatred of, aversion to, or prejudice against Black women. Intersecting lines of presumption course through my experience. Hypervisible, invisible, diversity higher, magical negress, mammy, too dependent, too independent. Like a tattoo, these intersecting lines of discrimination are drawn upon my skin by people without nuance or curiosity. I am Sarah Bartman, body exploited, gawked at, and dissected for lurid amusement. I am Antoinette Bonnie Candia Bailey, disbelieved by my white supervisor as I begged for margin to tend to my mental health. I am Henrietta Lacks, dying of cancer, my body harvested for my DNA, used for decades, for research and profit without consent, apology, or compensation. I am Serena Williams, arguing for my life on my laboring bed because no one believes my crises. I am Sojourner Truth, reminding people that Black women are women. God of Hagar and Jochebed, do you see us used by people who seem so blessed by you? Why do you send us back? Do you see us loving our children, desperate to protect them, yet having to send them into a world that may be apathetic to their beauty and value? Why not change the world? Do you not see that to be a Black woman is to be gaslit several ways, not knowing whether people are coming for you because of your race or your gender or both? Do you see us marching, tearing down racist flags, casting our bodies in front of guns and pepper spray, testifying before hostile panels for the uplift of Black people, but being greeted with silence when we are the victims of injustice? Do you see all the times our survival is wrapped up in persevering and strength, only to have our brothers complain we're not docile enough? Have you seen white feminism? There's no freedom there. They want us to be mules for their cause. We are ignored and then accosted by white women's tears when we're not fighting by their side for measures that will benefit only them. We can't breathe either. We need space to discover ourselves out from under the harsh gaze of misogynoir. Where is our space, Lord? Creator, never do we want to be anything else but Black women, courageous, creative, intelligent, resourceful, community-minded, and mothers to civilization. But it is tiring to fight for the right to exist. This is what I ask of you: peace, the space to be. And I want your justice to roll down. Claim me. Show up and show folks that Black women are beloved and worth defending. I want that kind of justice. The kind that abolishes inequity and brings those in the margins to the center. The kind of action that fulfills Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. I know you want more for Black women. Make it so. Make it so.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That is so beautiful. So now y'all see why I'm raving. I'm raving for a reason. Because the way that you write the poems and the prose and the prayers, all those P's, it's done in such a way that it's definitely taken a contemporary look at life and speaking from, your voice and incorporating things that are a part of our history or a part of our present, but also still tying it to the scripture. So that's what really resonated with me in just reading the poems and the lyricism of it all.
Thank you.
So it's just really beautiful. And I told you that I read a lot of these out loud at first. The first part of the book, I was reading them out loud. So it's like, okay, I'm making my own. I'm making my own. What do you call it? Audio book by reading.
I love that. I love that practice.
Yes, but I mean, and I don't normally do that. So it's just your book. Your book drew me to want to do that, just because it does feel like something that I could relate to in just the different ways of you talking about life and all of the different topics. So you did your good writing on this one, Miss Sharifa.
Thank you.
Just so you know.
Thank you so much. That means so much.
But that comes from this section about talking to God about our self-worth. Other topics that you touch on in there is feeling myself. I love that one. How we break glass ceilings. If you're going on a job interview, dealing with imposter syndrome. So those are just some of the things that are in there. So in this particular section of the book, well, first of all, what was it that made you want to break it down into these specific areas?
Okay, well, I wanted to make sure that the prayers were pragmatic. For me, I really wanted the book to be accessible. I wanted it to be relatable. And there are some, thanks, Tiffany.
You love me, Tiffany. I agree.
Tiffany, you're the best. I wanted it to be easy for the reader to find something that related to her situation. So I wanted to make it as easy to find prayers that were relevant to struggle or praise. or joy or a situation
Right.
that they could just quickly go through. There are many ways to read the book. You could read it straight through, but I really wanted sisters to be able to look at the table of contents
Mm-hmm.
and be able to access what they needed right away.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to make sure, because we are Black women, I just didn't want to ignore topics that are very specific to us.
Yes.
And I also wanted to make sure that they were embodied experiences, that I didn't try to separate the spiritual from the physical in this book. That was like very, very important to me. And I didn't want to make the prayers ahistorical or just
Mm-hmm.
out of a context,
Right.
to pretend that we're not deeply entrenched in context um, when we pray. So
Right.
that's basically why.
Right. And that's really what, as Tiffany said, makes it the big one and made it resonate with me so much, made me want to share it with my mom, to share, a specific poem, which I'm going to talk about here in a second, with my mother, just because it's so powerful and it makes sense. Because oftentimes in conversations with my mom, we will talk about how is it relevant? Yeah,
Mm.
you can throw a lot of things at me. You can pick a lot of verses and scriptures, and oftentimes they are taken out of context. We know
Mm.
that. We know this,
Yes, we do.
but it's taken, like, things can be taken out of context, and sometimes they just aren't as relevant, because we do know that the word, well, hopefully people know that the word was written, not that it's not relevant, but it was written for certain people at certain points in time, and then we take that word and we apply it to our lives today. But
Yes.
some people don't know how to go about that practical application.
Yes. That's a very generous way to say it.
I'm being nice.
Yeah, I could tell. Although that is truly the situation of some people. That
Right.
is truly the situation of some people, because we're all growing in the faith. So I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to pretend like everybody is born like full grown, mature in knowing how to handle the Bible and apply it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not the case.
Mm-hmm.
So
Tiffany's laughing with us.
yeah, she
Yeah,
is.
I'm being nice. But the one that I shared with my mom, and actually it's appropriate because we are in now Pride Month,
We are.
that there is a poem in the book, and we'll be here all night if we go read from every section, but just to let people know some of what to expect. There is a poem for the queer child from
Mhm,
Jesus.
mhm.
And I shared it with my mom because, in a lot of circumstances, there are people who take a real negative, non-loving stance towards people who are part of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Mhm.
And just the fact that you would include that, I found that so powerful, because
Yeah,
that's the antithesis of a lot of what we see and hear in some of our faith communities.
it is. Sadly, um, look, my whole thing is argue with yourself when it comes to some of these. When it comes to some of these, because at the end of the day, my goal is to reconcile people to their God.
Yes.
And what you can't convince me of is that basically, oh, well, these people, they don't get to talk to God.
Right.
You shouldn't craft anything for these people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's not sitting right with me. But not just with me, but with, I don't know. I read that Jesus came not to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Right.
It I can't fathom an argument where Jesus would be like, "Oh, I love everybody, but not them."
Mm-hmm.
I It's just not. I'm not. I'm not seeing it. So who cannot talk to God? Who does not have access to God is the flip side of an argument against this particular piece. And
Yes.
I would love, no, I don't think I would love, but I'd be curious about the counter argument that says, oh, well, these are people who cannot, they don't have access to God.
Right, right. So that's a bold move. And I was watching your video from last year when you talked about the book, and you're like, yeah, there's some stuff in here that's probably going to step on some people's toes. But I love the fact that you included that, because it is to include everyone.
Yes.
Everyone.
And I want to make sure the people who need this get it. That's what and there are people who I love. You know, I just am like, I want to make sure the people who need this have access to the prayer if they don't have the words.
Yes, I love that. So in the next section, I will read this one because it's really short.
Okay.
And I love the picture that goes with it. It's in the section that talks about our bodies. And I got some in my head right now. When the braids are too tight.
Oh my goodness. That one.
It says, dear Lord, the braids are too tight. Me and the hair lady about to fight. Guess I'm staying awake tonight. Pain when I lay down is my plight. Brows pulled up till I got second sight. Hope this Tylenol gonna get me right. I love it. It's short and sweet. Put that picture.
Isn't it beautiful? I love
it. Beautiful.
I love
and
that.
It's apropos for those of us who get the braids. But my braider does not braid too tight. But yeah, for those,
praise the Lord.
For praise those the Lord. That do, for those that do,
it's relatable.
That's short and sweet. But you also, in this section, you have I may have read this one because I really loved it. I love the whole book. Foundation matching is one. Yes. Another, we talk about alopecia, cramps, perimenopause, which some of us have been through or going through. And yeah, so those are some of the ones in that particular section. But I do love foundation matching. That's on 35.
Are you going to read that one?
You want me to read it?
Yes.
Okay.
I've heard this before. I want to hear it.
Well, yeah, you have. And it's not too long.
It's not.
So you can hear what I was reading when I was reading to myself. So this is the picture that goes with it. Foundation matching. Isn't that beautiful? In the beginning, our skin was luminous, bronzed by a gentle sun, hydrated by a morning mist, nourished by the fruit of Eden. But then, cast out of the garden, we were introduced to heat rash and pimples and quickly oxidizing mismatched foundation. White supremacy and greed resulted in our makeup as a parody. Blackface coal, mulatto red bone, jaundiced high yellow. But you gifted us with a spectrum of hues, adorned us with the creamiest latte to the most luminous obsidian. Behold, you sent forth your servants, among them Rihanna, Pat McGrath, and the OG Fashion Fair. Thank you for the trailblazers of makeup for the melanated, because you know that freedom includes the ability to live comfortably in our own skin. Now I lift to you this moment of gratitude, my foundation blended like morning dew on a flower's delicate petal, my face and neck perfectly matched. I find no flaw in this mirror. Finally, a foundation worthy of my God-given color.
Well done.
That's you.
Well done,
I'm just a reader. That's you. But I love, and again, that just speaks to, these are things that actually are about Black women. And think of how the years that we struck, I know there are women who don't wear makeup, but for those that do, the struggle has been real for a long time.
For a long time. Way too long.
Way too long. Way too long. So I love that. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I feel like there has to be levity. It can't all be poems about and prayers about misogynoir. There has to be like a balance, because that's life.
That is life. That is life. We have joy, we have pain. So yes, that balance.
And we're beautiful.
Yes.
We're just We just so beautiful.
We're just so beautiful. We're just so beautiful. So in the next section, we talk to God about our protest.
Yes. Mm.
So that is powerful because we are all protesting, even sometimes when we don't feel like we're protesting. Just showing up sometimes is a protest in and of itself.
Absolutely. That's a word. That's a word.
So in this section, we talk about prayers while waiting to vote,
Mm-hmm.
no justice in the land, a prayer for an activist, prayers for our children, prayers when they work your last nerve, which, yeah.
Mm.
And a prayer about bullies. I'm trying to see which one I pulled up. It's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. So
It's
I can
your
pick
turn.
one.
You can pick one.
Mm.
I do like bullies though, but you can pick one.
See, wait, that's messy. I was gonna read my children in the state of things.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes.
you good with that? You good with
I'm
that?
good with that. I'm good with all of it.
Okay.
Can y'all
Okay.
tell that Sharifa we're gonna be like good from this point forward, right?
Yes. Wait, let me get on my readers.
Okay.
My children in the state of things. Father, with every birthday, every inch grown, every blossom of their bodies, every follicle of peach fuzz, my children become ripe for state terror. My joy for their birth and their incredible presence in the world is tempered by the fear that they will not be seen as they are, but through the lenses of terrified people armed with state violence. Father, your son grew up in the shadow of empire, spreading healing and truth, but was treated violently. He attracted and fascinated people in the street and the halls of power, drawing both their curiosity and scorn. He was deprived of life by cowards. If your son couldn't escape the violence, what hope do my children have? Help my heart to remember when my nervous system runs feral in fear. Remember that my children are still here, still whole. Remember that my inheritance is not a spirit of fear, but of spirit fueled power, love, and a sound mind. Remember that my children were created in the mystery of the womb, in the dark, beautiful realm of your creativity. You made them with such wonder. Remember that your son grew up with a community of extended family, faithful friends, and elders who were generous with their wisdom. In the world of violence that he came to, Jesus still experienced love and care. Remember that Jesus died, but did not stay dead. I confess this doesn't comfort me right now. I forget that I have hope in your Son. His sacrifice, death, and resurrection are our hope. I get so scared for my children that I spiral into worry. Help me to remember and trust you. Would you continue to place good people in the path of my children? People who will speak life into them, people who share their own stories of perseverance, creativity, love, imagination, people who will not let my children languish in self doubt, but will coach them in thriving so they can glimpse you. Thank you for allowing me to witness other people offering wisdom to my children generously without finding fault. This is a gift straight from you. May your favor shelter my children all the days of their lives.
Beautiful, beautiful. That is so beautiful. And we got a request for a prayer while waiting to vote. So
Oh,
I can you can do it or I can.
oh, can you do it? Don't give me a choice. I want to hear. I want to hear a sister say it. Go ahead.
Okay. Another sister. Okay, a
Yes.
prayer while waiting to vote. We've come a mighty long way. You've brought us this far, and I won't turn around. Dogs and horses ran us aground. Children marched for my future. Medgar Evers's blood ransomed my ballot. Fannie Lou Hamer kept going, sick and tired as she was, jailed and beaten and stalked. We are the children of the promise, the fulfillment of the dream. You've brought us this far, and I won't turn around. I want to hear freedom sound. Redistricting won't work. Gerrymandering won't do. With the memory of my ancestors and the righteous love of God, I will come through. Their resistance won't stop me. Their petty laws are a farce. This land is my land too. We stay ready to march. The long lines aren't new. The wait times won't defeat me. My ancestors gave too much for their pettiness to beat me. We've come a mighty long way. I won't turn around now. My vote is for a better world. My ballot is a vow. Democracy is true or false. The test is what is done with Black women like me on voting day. See this republic run away from life, liberty, and happiness's pursuit when freedom has a darker hue. They want to make votes mute, but my presence will indict the wrong and challenge the offending until democracy aligns with the myths that they're telling. Lord, you've brought us thus far. I won't turn around now. I've got the baton and I'm running this race. Give me strength to keep going somehow. Yes. And see, this is what I'm talking about, y'all. The word, what's real, the history, the lyricism, all of that. So that's,
I love to hear you read it. It just ministers to me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, in our next section, we're talking about our loved ones. So
yes.
that's, that is a variety of loved ones. Parents, friends, our daughters. When the kids start driving, that's a whole thing.
It truly is.
Oh, goodness. Having an empty nest, things like that. After an argument with your husband, I thought that was too funny.
Relatable.
Relatable. So I will let you choose.
Okay, so I have some friends who are listening.
Okay. That wouldn't be Tiffany, would it?
Absolutely. I think I saw Kim too.
Yeah, Kim G is in here too.
Yes. So now you're my friend, Marcy.
Yes.
So I remember writing this and tearing up because it's just, I'm so rich. I am wealthy in friendships. So I will read that one. And I need to just keep these on. For my friends, but especially my sister friends. Weaver of memories, reveler in setting a rollicking table, harbinger of every good gift. Of course, you couldn't help yourself when it came to blessing friendship. You, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, are always supported, loved, in perfect perichoresis. Remember in the Garden of Eden, the one thing you observed that was not good for the first human was being alone. You delivered another human into creation. You didn't even do it the same way because you adore variety. Togetherness was the good and whole vision you intended. Only then was the world you created a place of peace. Thank you for the togetherness you have given me. Even in this world so far from Eden, I catch glimpses of perfection through my loved ones. I bless you for how you have blessed me. I am wealthy with good friends. Lord, I have friends who have traveled life's journey with me for so long that they can point out every brave place I have made it through to remind me I can climb to solid ground. I have friends whose voices are balm to my soul. Their mere presence is permission to examine, to rage, to celebrate. I have friends who embody the freedom you have given to me to make mistakes, to experience forgiveness, to receive loving criticism, and to grow from it. My friends have been your love, your grace, your comfort, your exhortation, and your joy in my life. Would you bless them real good, Lord? May favor chase them. May your love be their canopy and shield. May people be compelled to choose honesty and gentleness around them. May they be clothed with integrity, grit, and unexpected blessings. And may I be found a true friend to them in their times of want and times of need.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's so beautiful. Kim, Tiffany, me. That's beautiful. And it just speaks to the power of those relationships. And I showed the picture right quick, but I love that particular photo. It's like the Garden of Eden and
Yes.
friends.
Yes.
That the importance of relationship is not always just about the romantic relationships, but just relationships in general.
Exactly.
I think of all the ways that, those friendships feed us and serve us in so many wonderful ways, and opportunities for us to serve them as well. So
yes,
that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, on the flip side, in the next section, we don't have to read it, but
okay.
we talk about heartbreak. There is a prayer in there for the end of a friendship, because that's that is a heartbreak that oftentimes can be more devastating than
a breakup with a boyfriend,
whatever, or a girlfriend, whatever the case may be.
A relationship, a romantic relationship.
Yes. So I love that you include that, because that's something that is real as well. And then, of course, romantic breakups, losing a loved one, a parent, miscarriages, those different types of things. There's one in here, another one that may push buttons for some is after an abortion. So we talked about it a little bit before we came on, but including that definitely is powerful, because it speaks to something that women have been judged about, and to just really be able to speak to God using the voice of a woman who may be struggling with that decision.
Yes.
While knowing it's the right decision. That's pretty, for her, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think it's easy to talk about abortion in a binary, where we have reduced the discussion to pro-life and pro-choice. I don't love abortion. I don't. I wish it was not a thing. I wish it wasn't necessary. And my book is for women, Black women. And I love women who have had abortions. And I know that if I love them, God loves them.
Absolutely.
And it's not my job to segregate women from God. That's not my job. My job is to reconcile women to God. And having walked through this process with people who I dearly love, I want them to know, and I want the ones I never meet to know, that they are deeply, deeply loved by God and can talk to God.
That is so important, similarly to, the one for queer folk.
Yes.
Same thing. It's like,
who doesn't get access?
Who doesn't get access?
It's not good news if everybody doesn't get access.
Right. That's so true. That is so true. But I can appreciate you including that, as well as we're already at 9:00, so we can't meet forever. But that just speaks to the beauty of this conversation and of your work. So we'll talk about some of the others. And the whole point is for people to go buy the book anyway. So buy the book and then you can get all of the good. But this is just to give you, kind of an idea of some of what to expect in Sharifa's book. So, of course, we talk about heartbreak, the pain, but we also talk about the joy in the next session. And it's about like buying a new home, the things that you would think about in there. I love this one. The phone dropped but didn't break. Again, some levity. How we feel when the phone dropped but it didn't break.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Oh man, do I have another? No, I don't. Thank God it didn't break. There's one here about delicious brunch, and many of us, we ladies who love to lunch and brunch. So there's one about that. Blessing a marriage, a prayer for creatives. Yeah. So just all of these things, and travel mercies that, every time we get on the road, we should be praying for traveling mercies just because. So those are some of the things within there. But, as you said earlier, I love the fact that you include some things that are like lighthearted.
Yes.
But it also speaks to the fact that we can be grateful for and pray to God about any and everything.
Yes, exactly. I couldn't have said it better. Couldn't have said it better. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So yes, thank God. Now I got some more money for my ties because my phone didn't break. Yeah, that part. Oh man,
that's hilarious.
Marcy. I'm part clown.
Me too.
Oh man, I do want to read this one real quick. I can read it because I can get through it because we're talking about our hair as Black women, and again, this is a Black woman's book. Yes. Good Hair Day is also a section about joy.
Yes.
To the one who crowns us all, we offer praise for the crowns God has placed on us, sisters. Our hair is stunning. Honestly, every day is a good hair day. Favor ain't fair. Our hair can resist gravity or work with it. Our hair can be close cropped or flow below our waist. We can dye it, braid it, weave it. Our hair reflects your creativity. Our hair protects us from the sun and defies the rain. Who but you could have made our tresses so well suited to the world? We're made in your image and you are resplendent. Today, with this good hair day, we shine too. We give thanks for that baldy that accents cheekbones and shows off a perfect head. Give thanks for the coils that defy gravity and humidity and frame your face like a bouquet. We give thanks for the regal locks that reveal your distinctly Black beauty. We give thanks for the sprouts of hair that came back after the chemo. They survive and reemerge just like you. We give thanks for your relaxed tresses, bouncy and sleek. We give thanks for that silk press. We see that shine. When you crowned us, great creator, you gave us so much to work with. You didn't have to, but you did.
See?
Thank you.
Good delivery. Yes.
Do a little something, something.
That was perfect.
Yes, I just had to share that because, we're all sisters in our glory. Yes. And to thank God because God did create us, these kinks and these coils. And, every day is a good hair day. And there's no such thing as bad hair. Good hair versus bad hair, no such thing.
That's also a lie.
That is also a lie.
Yes.
Also a lie. So last but not least, in this last chapter, that is when we talk to God about our faith. So we started with faith and talking about faith with your grandma.
Yes.
And we end with faith and talking to God about our faith. So I will let you finish us out.
Okay. Okay, this is for the sister who can't pray. When you can't pray, hang on. Today was once the future. Last year, 10 years ago, times now known but once unfathomable to you. Do you remember what hurt you then? Do you remember how you got through? Remember. Remember the heartbreak that healed. Remember the money that covered the cost. Remember all those colds and flus, how your body carried you, how you healed. Remember the precious tears that you once cried, a torrent of sadness. Remember that they dried up with time. Remember the sound of your laughter. Remember the breeze and the gentle sun on your skin. Remember scratching the itch and sighing with satisfaction. Remember singing so loud, dancing to your song, letting it seep in like good medicine. Remember your heart. Put your hand over your chest. Close your eyes. Feel how it beats. Still. It's been beating since you were in the womb. You've grown accustomed to being a miracle. And sister, a miracle is exactly who you are. The symphony of circumstances that created you and kept you is composed by the divine. Sometimes the present notes of disappointment and sadness are revealed to be melodies of protection and progress, keeping you from further harm. That job didn't end you. That relationship didn't end you. The sickness did not end you. The death of that loved one didn't end you. You are still here. Please choose to stay here. Remember and cherish that you are still here. If that's all you can do right now, that is enough. I'll pray for you. Jesus, I bring my sister before you now. You are a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. I know her depression won't scare you. You don't turn away from our honesty or our pain. We don't need to clean it up for you. Would you break through in my sister's circumstances? Would you pull her from the pit of despair and surround her with opportunities to breathe, to rest, to heal, to experience support and peace? I pray your mercy over her. You are the one who sees and lifts up women. Your life was surrounded with women who you trusted with your life. You are safe. You care. You see and hear. Intervene, Jesus. Break through in a way that my sister can witness so specifically that she knows it is your work, your love.
Yeah. Let me put that down so I can give you a
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. And that is the last book. I'm sorry, the last poem in the book.
Yes, it is.
And it's where we're going to prepare to close.
Yes.
And then the next close. But yes, Sharifa, this is a beautiful book. I can't say it. I'm at a loss for words. I've said it so many times, but it's
Thank
just a
you.
beautiful book. I really suggest to everyone that you grab a copy because what we gave you is just a snippet of what's
Yes.
in here. And, you know, this is a book that I can see myself going back to, sharing things with others. Maybe just like I read here with you all, might read it to someone or gift them the book or just go back and read it for myself if I find myself in certain situations where I might not, you know, be feeling the way that I want to feel. You know, this is something that I can return to and really speak to God using the beauty of your words and then expound and create my own. So,
Yes. Yes, and that's the goal. That's
yeah,
the goal right there. That's why I wrote it.
yes. So, Sharifa, I know this book is relatively new in the world. Do you have some things coming up, going on, anything like that, where people can come out and see you, or you know, just to kind of give us a little insight?
Yes. Well, I'm a hermit, but and the book came out on May 13th and it's available wherever books are sold. So your bookshop.org, your
Yeah.
Amazon if you use that, or Barnes and Noble. So you can find the book there. And what I'm really excited about is I just learned that I'm going to be going to Essence Fest. And so I'll be going.
Ooh.
Yeah. So if you're going to Essence Fest, come find
Ooh.
me. I'll be selling the book there, and prayerfully I will also be on a author's panel. So look
Okay,
for
that's
the panel
big.
discussion.
That's pretty big, Sharifa.
It's big for a hermit. That's for sure.
Like too many people.
Yes, but these are, I'll be among the people that I wrote this book for.
Mhm.
So this is like the one situation where me being a hermit, it doesn't matter. I'm so glad to be in the epicenter of Black womanhood.
Yes, and I know that
So glad.
they're going to love it. They are going to love this book. So, congratulations on that. And I know
Thank
you're going to
you.
have a great, great time. So, well, that's all I got for tonight, y'all. Normally, I have a wrap up and da 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 da. We're not doing that, Miss Sharifa, and we're gonna go offline and have our own,
That's right.
party after the party. So.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you
It has
so
been
much.
a pleasure. I consider it an honor to have you here with this book. And, I know this one just came out and you got things to do, but as you go forward, you are always welcome in this space to come and share. And we can laugh and kiki and pray and maybe cry, whatever it is.
All of it.
Feels, all of the feels. That's what sisterhood is about. And I want to thank your friends and those who aren't your friends yet.
Yes.
Showing
Yes.
up in the room. We appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you so much for being here for this wonderful conversation. And well, just to let everybody else know, next week it won't be a book. Actually, I have a young lady, and you may want to watch this one too, Sharifa. A young lady who's coming next week. She was a pharmacist by trade, and she has started her own line of seasonings that help us with our health. So,
are you serious?
I am serious. So she will be here next week. So y'all tune in for that. As I said, it won't be a book, so you don't have to read, but just to learn some things about our health and all that. Because, well, I'll let her talk about it, but we don't realize a lot of things that we might be eating are impacting the medications that we might be taking.
Oh my goodness, that's fascinating.
She's going to be talking about that next week. It's all a part of living well. So I will see you all next week. Have a great night. And until then, please continue to live well. Take good care. You don't hang up, but take care. All right. Take care, everybody else. All right. Bye-bye.